Listen, I love a good bubble bath, but if a 20-minute soak was the answer to everything, we'd all be thriving, right? Welcome to Your Well Life, the podcast that goes way beyond self-care checklists and into the real work of healing, alignment, and actually feeling alive again. I'm Misha Vayner, trauma-informed transformation mentor, holistic health and life coach, and mom of 3, here to inspire you to break free from burnout, reconnect with yourself, and create a life that actually feels like home. And we're not pretending it's all deep and serious 24/7 because real growth, it's sacred, but it's also messy, hilarious, and sometimes best understood through a pop culture analogy. Each week, you'll hear inspiring stories of resilience, soulful conversations about healing, reinvention, optimizing your well-being, and honest insights to help you move from struggle to flow in motherhood, marriage, friendships, career, and beyond. I'm endlessly curious about what makes people tick and thrive, whether it's a breakthrough moment, a hidden grocery cart treasure, or even a Bravo show revelation. Because healing isn't just found in the heavy work, it's woven into the everyday human experience. Real life isn't polished, growth isn't linear, but within the real, raw moments, there's a path forward, and you don't have to walk it alone. Hit subscribe and let's get into it. Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Your Well Life. Today I'm talking to Nitika Chopra, and we are talking all about the journey of chronic illness. We're talking about what's underneath those chronic illnesses, how she got to the root of a lot of the illnesses that she struggled with for 20 plus years. We are talking about how she got to the piece when she realized that a lot of it was rooted in her codependency. We talk about a resource and a program that she took that helped her completely shift her codependency and as such transform her health as one of the many parts that was played a part in her healing. We talk about what codependency looks like, what we think it looks like, and what it actually looks like, and the impact it has on our health, our relationships, and our life. This conversation is so good, but it feels you're listening to two best friends talk because she is just so easy to talk to. She is so lovely, so the opposite of performative. And so it's going to feel like you're eavesdropping on a conversation, but getting so much wisdom from this badass because let me tell you, we also talk about her entire entrepreneurial journey of everything from running her own talk show to launching an entire something called a Chronicon, which I'll tell you about in a second, as well as a foundation and nonprofit, all with the intention of and mission to support those with chronic illness, to spread awareness around wellness and beauty and all of these different things that we care about here at Your Well Life. So let me tell you the more professional summary. Nitika Chopra is the founder and CEO of Chronicon and the Chronicon Foundation, two organizations committed to empowering people with chronic illnesses through healing, community, and equity. A visionary entrepreneur and host, Nitika leads with deep compassion and clarity, shaped by her lifelong journey with psoriasis and arthritis. Since launching Chronicon in 2019, she has built a vibrant ecosystem that reaches tens of thousands through digital content, live events, and strategic partnerships. In 2024, she expanded that mission with the Chronicon Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit focused on making support more accessible for underserved communities. That same year, she led a multi-city national tour to bring this vision to life across the country. Nitika has partnered with global brands like Google, Microsoft, Healthline, QVC, and more, championing inclusive health narratives and expanding representation for marginalized communities. She has hosted over 200 events and was the host of Naturally Beautiful, a globally distributed talk show spotlighting diverse beauty and holistic wellness. She also leads Truth Talks, a raw, heart-centered video series featured on her Substack, The Truth Today. For nearly 2 decades, Nitika has been a trailblazer in the wellness and chronic illness space. Her work transcends diagnosis, offering space, strategy, and soul for those seeking a more liberated, meaningful life. You guys, this conversation is so good. You can obviously see that she is such a badass. And so, yes, we're going to dive in. But if you know someone who would resonate with this, who needs to hear this conversation, please send it to them. And please comment and share, give your feedback, rate it, We really want to get these conversations to as many as possible, and I need your help to do that. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so I was so incredibly drawn to you. I think I found you on Substack, and I immediately had a full body, just like I felt compelled to talk to you. One, because I'm always drawn to people who courageously and vulnerably share from this unmasked place that I feel has an intention to help unlock the witnessing and the self inquiry that we all really need versus the performative, the masking, the filters that just keep us more disconnected. And I think that when I feel that resonance and I see someone doing that from a place of like empowerment, from a place of like real integrity and truth, for that alone, I was just like, this is my person. And then knowing that you're also South Asian, and I went down this rabbit hole of looking into the work you are doing. And holy shit, first of all, as like another South Asian who has navigated chronic illness, continues to navigate various elements of chronic illness. And as we were just mentioned, that's not chronic illness, but all the things. And then seeing how you really have turned what you navigated into like your mission, your purpose, and how you're really creating such a shame-free, trauma-informed opportunity for advocacy and equity and inclusion and empowerment and resources. It's I know from going through my own journey, it's so expensive, it's so hard to navigate, and just so many elements that how you're providing these resources for marginalized and all of it really resonates with so much of my own passions and missions. And I was just like, this woman is incredible. We got to talk. So thank you for just showing up the way that you do and like following your path in the way that you do. It's just even from the smidgen before even getting into it, I've felt so much resonance and healing from just like witnessing you sharing from that place. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Gosh, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was so happy to be connected with you. I think we did meet on Substack, and that's been really fun to just explore over there. And yeah, you just reminded me I need to do my Substack post.
Right?
I was like, oh wait, today is Thursday. My inner circle crew. Yeah, it's been such a journey. And I really appreciate everything that you said about what you've seen, because it is such a process for me to learn how to share, even because that was something I was talking to a friend about yesterday. Of just, I feel like I share so much, but still my friends are like, Nitika, you could actually even go deeper. You have more to share. And I'm like, I share so many things. I don't know how much more to share. So I really appreciate today of all days of you saying that and that it's resonating. And at the same time, I'm still learning, like, how do I share in a way that's not gratuitous, that's like also really helps me and helps the other person? Like, it's not just a one-way street. I'm receiving and giving. All of those things we're like thinking about. People think it's just a post, but it's not all this stuff.
It is so this is why I wanted to talk to you, because yes, I have all the questions, but just on this note, I really agree. It's so interesting because I get that same sort of I have that same desire where I'm like, I really want to share from this, like sometimes this bleeding heart, because I know that not only is it cathartic, but I know that someone else is going to feel more seen. And through me sharing, it helps people like understand, like when like my clients and community are always like, when you share how you're navigating, it helps me unlock and realize how I want to navigate it or have these ahas. But then also, oftentimes the internet can be a wild place, and you can get people who take things out of context, and it can end up like feeling really raw, or it can come from a place where it maybe seem, I don't know, may seem like narcissistic, or it seems like it's all about you, and I have those same thoughts too. And it's just such a continuous journey of both art form, understanding the content space, and like how, and even like what people are wanting in each sort of iteration of life, because I feel like it continuously changes. Like now it's the 3 steps, now it's the vulnerability, but then also like what it's also like a healing process of us noticing it's like what's coming up for us and then observing and figuring out like what feels safe, where am I coming from the scab versus the wound, all those things. And it's interesting. I don't know if, I know this is a bit of a tangent. We'll get back to the actual topics, but
Okay.
it's interesting because I went through this thing where I started to, and I saw someone on TikTok share this, and I was like, it's not just me. It's definitely something that's happening collectively in the past 6 months, where I felt that I needed, initially, I was like, I want to, things that I used to just share in my paid containers, I started to share more freely because I was like, I want to make a bigger impact and I don't want to just have it behind in my mastermind or whatever. And then when I did that, I started to realize I was getting all this backlash. And then I realized that, oh, because they don't have context, like I do need to have it behind some sort of paywall, which is when I started to put like how you have the truth talks behind a paywall. And I think it's just, there gives a little bit of, oh, like the people who actually care will opt in. And then you get a little bit less of it. It makes it safer for our nervous system. And it allows us to have that sort of, I don't know, deeper connection with the right people and drown out the noise when we're for all. But yeah, what a layered process. It's funny how everyone thinks it's just writing and sharing.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's not that at all. It's like a very deep spiritual process, I think, for the whole thing, I think. And even just like what I post on Instagram, or
Yeah.
it seems like I'm just posting a small thing or it's not that serious, but I like overthink all of it. So to me, it is really serious.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
actually wonder as we get into this, I'll probably learn more about because part of what I want to get into with you is actually some of those patterns from your healing. So
Mhm.
without further ado, I'm just going to get into it because I want to hear. Can we go back? I know that your journey started with your experience with chronic illness. Can you take us back to that chapter and what happened? Yes, physically, and also what stirred up like emotionally, mentally, spiritually for you.
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting that you say go back to that chapter because I feel like I was just talking to some girlfriends last night at dinner and I was like, I really can see my entire life feels like it's been a pilgrimage. I just feel like it's just been, and probably since before my first chronic illness, but definitely
I love
since
that word.
I got my first chronic illness when I was 10, which was psoriasis. And
10.
it ended up just really expanding all over my body. It grew from being one small dot to going from the tip of my foot to the tip of my head.
Wow.
I lived like that. Yeah, I lived like that for on and off because it was worse sometimes, a little bit better sometimes, but still pretty severe for 17 years. Like it was,
Wow.
yeah, it wasn't like it was like, oh, this is a 6 month flare.
Did you know when you got it what it was?
No, I had to do a biopsy and we ended up getting information from the doctor saying, okay, this is psoriasis. Because especially I'm 44 now. So this
Me
was
too.
before, yeah, this was like 34 years ago. It was a bit different back then. And I think it was common, but not nearly as common and things like that. So yeah, so we got a skin graft done and we found out it was psoriasis. And then about a decade into that diagnosis, I got psoriatic arthritis. So then that left me pretty much bedridden for the first half of my 20s. I couldn't work really. I couldn't do normal things that you would do in your 20s. I felt
Wow.
like a Mack truck was running over me pretty much every second of
Wow.
the day from the arthritic pain. And then my skin was basically falling apart. It looked, when you have chapped lips and your lips like crack and bleed, like my entire body was like that. So
Wow.
it's crazy because I feel like a lot of times people hear my story. I don't look like someone who's been through something like that, but yeah, that was my life for much of my life. And then even after I finally found something that helped me with the severity of it and got me through the worst of the symptoms, even from that was about 25 when I was 25, even from that until just the last few years, like it's always been a big part of my experience day to day when you have a chronic illness. For a lot of people, there's just extreme fatigue that comes, there's like anxiety that comes, there's so many things that are layered that people don't always understand. So
Same.
yeah, pain, like all of that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that like you're full blown in the illness at that time. It's just like all of these residual things. For that whole time, I was still experiencing a lot of that. And then a few years ago, I ended up getting a really extreme case of COVID and in 2021. And it ended up triggering a rare neuromuscular disease. And yeah, I almost died. It was like really crazy. And I am in remission from that condition now. But
Oh, good.
it was a journey. Like all the things I thought I had learned, I've been in the wellness industry for 15 years now. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I know all the things. And I genuinely did. I have so much compassion for that part of me because I really did try. And I went to the therapies and I did so
Yeah.
much work on myself. And I really did try. But when I got myasthenia gravis a few years ago, it just unlocked something in me. I ended up it was such a rock bottom physically that I was like, okay, I got to figure something out. Like something
Mm-hmm.
else is going on here. And I've always related to my health as like a portal for something else. I've never just related to it as a health condition. But when I got myasthenia, it was just like undeniable. And yeah, it took me on a journey, which we can get into. But
Yeah. I want to actually ask a couple of clarifying questions about what you shared. So from the psoriasis and the arthritic thing, before you even got the asthenia, is that what it's called?
oh,
Is that
myasthenia.
oh, asthenia? Okay, myasthenia. I'm sorry. The first two things, was there ever, and I'm sure we're going to get into it as you talk about the deeper layers, but just high level from a holistic sort of body, was there ever any insight into whether there was a deeper rooted thing that was initiating this, that was from a physical level, or was it actually like more trauma, ancestral?
Oh, from a physical level, yes and no.
Yeah.
I would say there's no root cause. We don't know why.
Mhm.
Like I heard that the most. And then there was also this idea that some kids who used to get strep throat a lot as a kid would
Mhm.
get it repeatedly year after year, and then something would happen to their immune system and they would develop like an autoimmune condition instead, and they wouldn't get strep throat anymore. And that definitely happened to me. I used to get strep
Mhm.
throat without fail every year.
Wow.
When I was 10, I never got it again. So,
Interesting. It
yeah.
shifted into, yeah, no, it's interesting too that you mention how you have always been deeply connected to wellness and understanding like your body and all the things, and how you knew and were doing all the right things. And yet you still were just stuck in really understanding what was underneath it. And so I'm assuming that then that led you into deeper layers of healing that helped unlocks. Is that correct? So I'd love to hear that about
I
that.
think it's a little bit of both kind of contributed because when I was 19, I was actually engaged and I ended up getting married in the first half of my 20s. I was married, and I my ex-husband really introduced me to a lot of these practices,
Mm,
and I'll always be so grateful to him for that. And he was just, yeah, he learned about certain seminars and things like that, that he was just like, oh, you should check this out. Because I was really like, I was so devastated. I wasn't
yeah.
the version of me that I am now at all. I got sick when I was 10, and
Yeah.
I was already like chubby and brown, and everybody else was white. And I was just like,
Where did you grow up, may I ask?
I grew up all over. I was born in
Oh,
Ohio, but we lived in Singapore and Cairo for the first 5, 6 years of my life. And then we moved back to Ohio, which was very challenging. And I moved to New Jersey to finish high school.
okay.
Yeah. So now I'm in Brooklyn, and I've been here in New York for 20 plus years, 24 years.
Mm,
But yeah, so my ex-husband had taught me about all these things, and that sort of led me to then say, oh, there's something else
at play.
here. People keep saying I had an extreme situation compared to a lot of the people that I was meeting in terms of a physical extreme situation. But I was understanding that there was some like connection happening, like
Mm,
something was happening with like my mind and my thoughts and my beliefs that I didn't know if I could heal myself through that, but I felt like there was something there. And
mm.
that sort of then inspired me to really go full on. And I started my first company, Bella Life, which was an online magazine where I had like over 100 contributors writing for me.
Wow.
And I would put out content every day that was about like wellness and lifestyle and meditation and things.
And when was that? 2020?
That was, no, that was my first company. So I started that in 2010.
Okay.
did that for 6 or 7 years. And then I closed that down after I did my talk show on television. And I was like, oh, I'm going to kind of pivot. That was a company that focused on a lot of other contributors. And I was like, oh, I think I need to like do something on my own. I don't know. I think I want to do something deeper. And then that was where my company Chronicon was created a couple years after that.
I love it. So I want to go back to
Yeah.
when your fiance was in like helping you explore the fact that there was something deeper, potentially like it rooted it was creating all of this. Can you talk to me about like how you then healed that and what that process and journey involved?
Yeah, like how I healed my,
I guess I'm trying to get what I'm
yeah.
trying to, I guess, extrapolate is I'm sensing that underneath all of this was misalignment with your relationship with yourself, that there was trauma, that there was like disconnection from conditioning and patterns from ancestral and the way that you were raised. And that disconnection from self, that trauma, that stress, that chronic stress living underneath the system was what was the root of the disharmony in your physical body. And that was then manifesting in these ways, because that's similar to my story and my own version that so many women have, sadly. But I think that it's really, I find it fascinating to hear everyone's own personal journey of how they came to it, because we all have our own flavor of it. And I think also I do, in addition to the fact that a lot of people listening are also in that process of uncovering what it is that is causing their their like disharmony in their body, or things being out of alignment with themselves, or why they're feeling out of whack. It helps illuminate. And also I think the next layer is want to go down into the piece around identity and being South Asian, because I do have a South Asian community too. I guess if you had any way to speak to like the pieces that were causing the misalignment with self and the
Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah. There's so many. I don't want to, I was like, oh God, I don't want to deter anyone from the path, but I will
Oh
say
yeah.
part of why I say I feel like my life has been a pilgrimage is because it's taken me like 25 years to really understand this.
Totally.
I'm now 44 and I started this process, I think, when I was 19. And yeah, I had many times during those 25 years that I was like, oh, like this is the thing, like this is the piece. Okay, now I like really see. And all of those things were true.
Mm,
Those were the pieces. And I can get
yep.
like what that was exactly. But it's taken me, it really took my myasthenia diagnosis to see that like I was doing a lot of stuff sort of high level or
Yes.
like topically, if you will. But, and I didn't think I was
Yeah.
really trying to dig deep, but I didn't address the patterning that was in my body.
Yes.
And so that's, I'm sure you've seen on my Substack, I talk so much about the nervous system and
Yep.
what
Mm,
really shifted things for me because I was going to therapy and I was learning all of these things about myself. I've tried EMDR, I've tried hypnotherapy, I've tried
yeah.
therapy, I've tried everything. And I have one therapist in particular, Aleda, who I met when I was 28, like right around the time that I started my company, my first company. And she changed my life. Like she really, and we're still connected to this day, like she really showed me that I was allowed to grieve a lot of
Mhm.
everything that I had been through. And I didn't grow up in a home where like we knew any of those tools. So she really changed my life and taught me so many of the things that I understand about like emotional wellness and even like spiritual depth and all these things. She's totally responsible for so much of that. But still,
Mm,
I had a lot of awareness, but it was like still in my cells.
yes.
So it was through that understanding that piece, which means it doesn't have to take someone else 25 years. Like maybe they're 3 years in and they like work on the physicality of it.
Yeah.
Nervous system coach or a nervous system person or another way to get through the programming in your body. But for me, it was really like I grew up in a home that like my parents would kill for me. Like they love me so much. They've given me everything that they possibly could have, but they didn't have the same upbringing, obviously. The first generation families from India as well. And they did not know how to deal with me or they didn't understand me in so many ways. I always felt so separate. I
Mhm.
think that actually created a lot of agony for me.
Yep.
And I think for maybe some people, it doesn't create the same level of agony. Maybe for some people, it's like triggering at times, but they get through it and they whatever. It wasn't like that for me. It was
Yep.
deeply agonizing. And all I wanted was to be with them emotionally and connected to them emotionally. And then it just compounded a lot because I wasn't like the way that they wanted me to be. Everything people talk about like my hair now, but like when I started wearing my hair naturally after I got divorced because I couldn't afford to get my hair blow dried, my dad was like freaking out. Like he was so upset. Like every single step of the way, that's such a small thing.
You guys, your well life has just gotten an upgrade, and it's honestly one of the things I've been wanting to offer for the longest time. Because honestly, the most powerful thing in healing comes from when we feel witnessed and someone shares something that helps unlock awareness in ourselves. So many of you tell me the same thing, that hearing how someone actually navigates the hard stuff, the mindset, the shifts, the stumbles, the tools, is what helps you feel less alone, less ashamed, more connected, more seen, and helps to illuminate where you might be either feeling the same or actually can implement those things for your own journey. So that's why I created this private podcast space. There are parts of my journey that are honestly too tender, too nuanced, or too sacred for social media, for the public. But those are the very stories that tend to unlock something in others. These are the shares that aren't polished or performative. They're real. They're for the ones who crave honest, behind the scenes glimpses into how I'm walking through healing, motherhood, nervous system recovery, marriage, business, identity, life. So for $8 a month, you'll get access to these deeper, more personal audio drops, honest reflections I don't share publicly, real-time glimpses into what I'm walking through, the tools, practices, and shifts I'm using to move through it. So if my public podcast speaks to you, this is where it gets even more nourishing. So subscribe to the private podcast feed, link below. And if you want the full experience, my Substack is where this all comes together. So in your Well Circle on Substack for $12 a month, you'll receive everything the private podcast has, plus monthly audio and written drops of tools, practices, and rituals, soul-led reflections to support your well-being journey, access to community threads and conversations with other moms walking this path, invitations to private circles and behind-the-scenes shares. It's really your soft place to land, to be in connection and in a village for your healing. And it's a space where resonance, reflection, and real life support on your own time, low lift, because ain't nobody got time for anything else. That link is below. Do you want your voice to be part of the podcast? You have a question you want me to answer on the show or something you're moving through that you want my perspective on, you can share your story or ask a question directly, anonymous or not, using the link in the comments. I'll feature your share on air and respond with insight, support, and love. Let's keep making this space a place where we heal together. No, but I so get it.
It's like kind of shows you like everything. Like I've always been curvy. Like I'm the curviest person in my family, and I'm not even like a massively curvy person. I'm always like the person who's different, the person who's weird. And I think when you have that in your family unit, and again, no matter how much like they try to love you, it's like love languages in so many ways. It's like no matter how much they try to love you in the way they know how to love you, if they aren't able to sit and say what's really going on. I was never, also like to add fuel to the fire, I was never good at school, and I'm not a linear learner. And now I like totally I like that about myself, and I embrace it. But growing up and going to a certain kind of school, you're like, oh no, this is like the only way you're supposed to be able to learn this way. So if you don't learn this way, there's something really wrong with you, you know?
Yep.
And being from a South Asian home, I have an older brother. He was like the salutatorian, went to Stanford, all the things, like so different than me. But it was just like never my thing. I sang my whole childhood. I was a singer. I loved to sing. I loved being musical and doing drama and things like that. So yeah, that's like really where the deep wound and separation came from. And then I think it just perpetuated. And I saw from a pretty young age, I could see that the disease was like very convenient for me to get a lot of connection and care. And I know people talk about that,
Yep.
but I think that was just one piece of it.
Of
I
course.
think when I realized that, I was like, oh, this is the thing. And I'm just like, no, that's not the whole thing. That was like a piece of the pie. Yeah, that's a little bit about that.
I love that. I actually, there's so many things I want to just respond to and connect on. The first thing is going back to what you originally started. I agree. It's not like when you were saying, like, oh, it's a 25-year thing and it wasn't one thing, but I do think it's like peeling back layers of an onion. And also, that actually matters too, because you only really have the capacity and the like perspective and wherewithal to meet X amount at X given time. So it's not like you can just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It is an ongoing journey. And also, when I can resonate with having that Mack truck moment with the disease, the diagnosis you got at 19, because I had a similar experience in that my first business when I had a retail concept store in New York City, and I got a $5 million lawsuit by a partnership issue. And it basically, that plus a bunch of like traumatic life events that happened in that moment, along with me getting pregnant before I was married and a bunch of other things, led me to a full breakdown. My brain shut down. I wasn't able to walk. I had 65 like unexplainable ailments. And it like led me on this healing path where initially I was similar to you. I was like, why is nothing working? I know all the things. I'm trying all the things, very well intentioned, all the things. And it kept getting I would have 3 steps forward, 2 steps back process. And every time my functional doctor was like, you have XYZ because of stress. I'm like, but I'm not stressed. I'm going to the Buddhist meditation center. I'm doing the yoga. I'm doing the thing, like whatever. Meanwhile, I would have 3 young kids and whatever. And it wasn't until I paused, because like you, I had done so much self work and I had the understanding by that point to know, to observe my inner thoughts. And I was looking in the mirror and I was like, I got curious. I was like, there's got to be something if I keep getting these like diagnoses for stress. I'm like, they're not wrong. The tests don't lie. And I started to hear my voice being like, you look so gross. Why didn't you bring organic snacks? Like, why did you say yes to this? And I was like, oh my God, that is not my true self. That is the ego mind. That is the disconnection from self. And it was like, this was like early on. And I didn't know it was yet trauma, but I was like, that's the disconnection from self that's preventing. That's at the root of why the ecosystem of my body, no matter why I'm doing all of these other things and all of the weekly IVs and all of these other things, I'm only able to get so far because underneath it, the stress is what's causing this. And then when I healed my relationship with myself through trauma healing, I then had this like ripple effect, because when you discharge that stress, your metabolism, your body's in harmony, everything starts to flow, your sleep is better. Like it's just, and it's interesting because that's the work that I do. That's what I do with my clients in this mastermind. It's like a full comprehensive journey. And they do actually, because they do have like pretty profound transformations because of it. But I think that like similarly, it's because it's like going beneath, and similar to what you said, I heard you say how you felt very like separate in your family. And I always say that I have a very core, like black sheep wound. And in my family dynamic, like my sister was adopted and she was the golden child. And similar to you, like my parents are amazing and they just wanted to they wanted to do the best they can. And they didn't want her to feel left out. And with the result, I felt like I didn't matter. And I think it makes, similar to what you were saying about like everyone in my family went to Ivy League schools. I don't know, what's your human design? Do you know?
Oh, I'm a generator.
But are you
1-3?
I knew there was a 3. Okay. Yeah. Because, and I feel
I only
like,
know that just to give her credit because my best friend Amina tells me that all the time. She's like, "You're a 1-3." I'm like, okay. I don't remember these things. I don't even know what that means, but she's also a 1-3.
by the way, I love her. Had the
You have to
consult
have
with,
her on the show. She's
I
awesome.
100% will. Yeah, like I feel similar to you. I was always like what this like experimental like learner and needing to just go through my own, I don't know. I was not academic. I wasn't. And so similarly, I felt this core black sheep room. And I think we all have our own, no matter how good, how well intentioned, feel like we all have our own flavor of core wounds that at some point when maybe it's our Saturn return, when we hit a certain point in our life when like collectively everything comes to a head, if we haven't examined and worked with those core wounds, it shows up in our physical health and our behaviors in our life. And so I think that what you're doing with helping to provide this like awareness around like your journey and all of the different ways that we can like explore what's underneath, not just the physical part, I feel is so incredible. And so thank you for that.
Thank you.
I would love to get into, let's see, do you mentioned, okay, so when you were talking earlier about some of the things that come up for you when you had, you got the diagnosis at 19, I felt I felt the concept of shame come up in my body around how when we have chronic illness, in addition to all of the things we're navigating, the discomfort, the pain, the agony, it can be very isolating. And like you had said, no one else was going through the extent of what you were going through. And so I would love to hear from you if that shame and loneliness, one, I'm sure it compounded what you were feeling, but how you came through and from that place to a place of now really wanting to provide shame-free inclusive spaces.
Yeah, shame is such a tricky one. I feel like, and especially in like our culture, I feel like it's definitely used as a tactic a lot of the time. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, so it starts to feel like the truth, like whatever that thing is that you are ashamed of. And I
Yeah.
don't think I would have known like at that age that I was ashamed or that I had
Hmm.
shame. I think it was really through honestly, I think my relationship with my therapist, Aleda, that I started to see like the grief and shame connection, I would say for me, because I had much shame basically covering the grief that I was like really feeling.
Yeah, all those layers.
And so
Hmm.
I was really ashamed that I had been through this thing. My skin looked crazy. Like I was in so much pain. I couldn't do a lot of things. Like, as much as I seemed really confident, I was really struggling with that. Like, I hated these things about myself.
Yeah.
And I felt really frustrated. And that would really make me feel a lot of shame and just so disappointed in myself. And like, how could I not do better? How could I not figure this out? Apparently, you can heal yourself. So, like, I don't understand. Like, why am I not able to do that? It was just so loud all the time.
Mm.
And then I think working with Aleda like really helped me see the grief that was under that. I was just like genuinely heartbroken that all this stuff had happened to my body and that it was in such a way that I was expected to just handle it or like people, I don't know, people can't really be with all that you're going through a lot of the time.
Yes.
So it's really that also, I think, compounds things and makes it really disorienting. I would be like, wait, but I want to be strong. I am strong, so I'm okay. But I also need you to care that I'm hurt and upset and I'm in pain. And I'm like, but I also don't want to beg you for it at the same time.
Yes.
It's like all of
One
those things.
Oh my God, 1,000,000%. I feel like on that note, I feel like it's true. Like most people do not have the capacity to hold the discomfort of other people's emotions and, the depth of them. And that can add to the isolation. You like to your point, you don't want to ask for it. And I'm putting myself in your shoes at 19. You're at that time, it wasn't as trendy to be South Asian, first of all. And
Sure.
it was,
Yeah.
I remember I had a Ganesha in our house, and I remember people walking in. And listen, like they were kids, they're curious, like, what's this elephant head? I'd probably say the same thing, but it wasn't like everyone now knows, you know what I mean? There wasn't as much awareness. It wasn't as we didn't see ourselves in the media as much. So you're Indian, you're a little bit different. You're curvy, even more different. You're not academic. You're not a linear learner. Now you have all of these chronic illnesses that are actually really debilitating. And also, it was way before wellness culture was a thing. And so I feel as though that has got that all of it together. Like, of course, those are so many of the layers that are like just in and of itself adding up collectively to make your body be in constantly fight or flight, like constantly feel like it's in a place of self protection and shame and loneliness. And dysregulation. And how did you go from that place of like completely untethered, I'm assuming, to this place where you're so rooted in yourself, you're so deeply connected? Like I can just see and feel like it's not even the place of like you wouldn't abandon yourself in any way from a place of like aggressive energy. It's like you're really, it's like a very rooted, loving place of connection to self that I'm sensing. And I just feel like there's so many steps I'm curious to understand, like how you got. And I know this woman, you therapist, is probably a big part.
Yeah, my therapist, Alita, was a big part, but also my nervous system work, I think, integrated everything. I think one piece that was really big in the middle of it all, which is not what I think people would typically expect someone to say about this, but I really had to work on codependency, actually. It was a really
Mm-hmm.
huge part of this issue and navigating all of this because I did feel so separate and so other. And so my coping mechanism became to try to feel extra connected to people. So when I would meet someone, like if I just met you at an event or something and we connected, I would subconsciously, I didn't know I was doing this,
Yeah.
but subconsciously be like, oh, maybe she's the one that's going to
Yeah.
help me feel like I'm okay and I'm safe. And again, I didn't know this at the time, but I was starting to see that probably the mid to late 30s, I started to see like a lot of my relationships were just like not working.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go through a lot of really bad friendship breakups, and dating was just absolute crazy town. It was just terrible. Now I'm dating someone wonderful, but like
Yay.
time, it was like just so bad. I am a person who, when I see something happening over and over again, maybe it takes me longer in some areas and less in some areas, but I do start to feel like, okay, girl, what's going on? This is the sixth person who you like now aren't friends with anymore, who like you thought was so great and like you were so close to.
I love
Maybe
you.
there's something that like you should just look at. Maybe you'll find nothing, but highly doubt you'll find nothing. And so actually, Aleda had suggested something called CODA, which is Codependence Anonymous. And
Oh,
I am
very.
not an addict, or I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I'm such a square. So I was like, what? I'm going to go to like a 12-step program. I felt so freaked out. I resisted for
Yes.
years. Okay. She was like, okay, Nitika, I'm just going to mention this to you like once in a while. Absolutely resisted it. And then I went through a really bad breakup in like 2017, the end of 2017. And it was one of those like narcissist, whirlwind, insane breakups. And I felt a pain through that breakup. I remember having this feeling of, I talked to one of my best friends endlessly about it, like one of those. I
Yes.
could not talk about it enough. And it was over the holidays. And I had this feeling like, she is so there for me. And literally, no one can be there for me enough for this pain to go away. I had that realization and I was like, this pain is so deep and so extraordinarily intense. It's actually not for someone else to solve. Like it's bigger
Yes.
than anyone else could solve. And I had
Yeah.
never really understood that before. And so once I did that, I went to CODA January 2nd, like the second it was open. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the first meeting. And then I started going 3 times a week for 6 months because I was
Wow.
just like, it was so clear to me that I had a really disconnected relationship to relationships, my
Yes.
childhood, through also just being so sick and so separate from people, like all of these things. I was like, girl, like it's not gonna work. And so I really felt, I got so much healing from that experience. And it changed, it absolutely was one of the top things that changed my life. And it also had me be very devoted to myself, that I think a lot of these other things, it's not quite that way. This is like a 12-step program is like, it's very methodical. You show up, you are devoted to the practice.
Yeah.
If you think about someone who may be struggling with alcoholism or something with substance, right? There's a devotion, whether they would use that word or not. It's okay, day
Totally.
1, day 2, day 3. And I had to do that with relationships because it was just not good.
Hey mama, imagine if healing your stress patterns could change everything, because it can. Whether it's reacting in ways you don't recognize, people pleasing, or overthinking, these patterns stem from unresolved trauma stored in your body. They create chronic stress impacting your health, relationships, and how you show up in life. That's why I created the Align and Thrive Workbook, a free 5-day mini training designed to help you heal at the root. You'll learn what trauma is and how it's showing up in your body and life. You'll be guided through a proven 5-step process to heal and rewire these patterns, shifting from reactive and overwhelmed to aligned and in flow. You'll get a comprehensive workbook filled with practices and journal prompts to help you implement this work starting now. It's truly transformational. It's what I wish I had when I was struggling on my journey, and it's completely free. Download your Align and Thrive workbook for free today. Head to www.mishavayner.com/workbook and let's begin this journey together. You can also click on the link in the show notes and grab it today. I so can relate. And I think at the end of the day, like, we need that unconditional love from our caregivers and that attunement. And even the most well-intentioned parents, like, I think that I know that I received conditional love and it wasn't intentional, but at the end of the day, there's this unmet, like, feeling and hole inside that I heard Matthew Perry in his documentary. I don't know if this resonates with you. It resonated with me to the core about what you're saying. He said that he was talking about how, obviously different situation, but he was talking about how, I guess, when he was a child, his mom put him on a plane to go to LA to, I think, his dad or wherever it was. But this feeling of when he was sent away and on his own and just lost and seeking that, like, true connection to a caregiver, and how that pain when he was an adult, he's like, the only thing that could help him assuage that pain was drinking. And he would literally sit with this, like, hole in his heart and this pain of, it's like there is nothing else that can, like, almost quiet it. And I really can relate to that. And the story that you just shared about in the friendships, I too went through a phase like that. I remember I was so needy without realizing it. And I felt like I was just, and I remember similarly people just telling me I was too much, which only, it made me feel even worse because that was how I always felt. And then I'm like, but I don't know what to do with all this. And are you a Scorpio or no?
Oh, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
an Aries.
Oh,
Aries with a Cancer moon and Aquarius rising.
Oh, interesting. Also Cancer moon.
Okay, that makes
Gemini
sense.
rising though. But I remember feeling that way, and it was similar, different path, but it's true. It's that I love the path you took. I've never heard of that. I think that's amazing and such a great resource, because whatever path one takes to really, in a healthy way, almost like root into ourself in a way that, like, no one else and nothing else can fill, like, that can allows us to be. And that's also so beautiful too, because now in your relationship, I'm sure you're able to be so much more securely attached, which is so much healthier. And truth be told, I earlier this season went on a psilocybin journey because the pain I was experiencing and the similar thing was so intense. I was like, make it go away. Nothing is helping. It wasn't like the friendship thing, but it was still that feeling. And I just think that, and I went through that's a separate story, but I guess I just think that's a very relatable feeling. And that's so great. So from that place of going to Coda, devoting to that practice, learning to meet yourself versus seek the unconditional love from somebody else, that process helped you now I'm sure you, like, what is it like now internally when you have something that you go to a party and somebody doesn't want to talk to you? I don't know, making it up. What happens?
Yeah. I think the thing with codependency that people don't always think about, like, you think about, at least this is what I thought before.
Yeah.
Coda. I just thought of it very, like, one-dimensionally. Oh, this just means, like, I text too much, or just means hanging out with my friend too much, or whatever. But it's so much deeper than that. If you think about it, if I'm codependent, I am relating to everyone as it relates to me. versus like just relating to me and relating to you. That means everything, if we're friends, like everything you have or do or say or don't do or how you show up or how you don't show up is in relationship to me.
So fascinating.
Which when you
Yeah.
say that like that, you're like, you crazy. What are you
Yeah.
not normal? But the amount of people who do this, I mean, in our culture,
True.
it's actually blasphemous if you don't do this.
Yes.
Okay, if you're not making decisions and thinking of the auntie that's in wherever or the cousin that is this or that, it is like you have been totally, you're so wrong.
Yeah.
So anyway, my mom and I have a field day with this conversation often. My mom's like my best friend, we're very
Totally.
close. But she's like, Nitika, you with these boundaries and you just want to have, I'm like, yeah, mom, because you guys did not teach us this.
Oh my God,
Laugh about it
totally.
now. But yeah, so that is, so I forget what the question was.
Just
But
like how you relate to yourself
oh,
now.
now, yeah. So now it's not that it doesn't come up. Okay.
Mhm.
My best friend Amina and I always talk about this. It comes up, right? She'll do something or I'll do something, or it's very rare with us, which is why we're so close because we both work on our stuff a lot, like
Right.
privately. So then when we come together, it's like very good. But yeah, I have to be like, I have to tend to myself.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that I can't say to her or say to a friend, I noticed I got really sad about this thing, or oh, that I wish you would have told me that. I just want you to know I'm someone you can tell those things to, right? Something
Mm,
like that. But the old me would have been like, so, like, why didn't you do that?
ri-
Just like passive aggressive or like passing it on to you.
yeah.
You should hold this because I have so much going on.
Not asking consent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's not, it's, I don't know if I would say consent, but it's more like you're just not even aware that you're feeling these things. Like I wasn't aware that I was projecting all of that onto people.
No, totally. No,
Mhm.
I totally get it. And I think exactly right. I feel like it's in the healthy relationships I have. Like even before I was texting with a friend that I met up with last night this morning. And I first I sent her a couple of voice notes. And then before I sent another one, I was like, let me know if you have capacity for this. I will not even send the third one. If not, I was like, and I do think that, and also no pressure to even listen or respond, all the things.
Yeah.
But I think there are people that like just they send it and then they're like, did you get it? Did you follow? It's okay. Like the world doesn't revive. And I feel like it's to your point, it's about having awareness around essentially that other people have their own capacity, their own boundaries, their own shit going on, and also really being mindful of that. I think that's the really cool thing too in general about trauma healing is that it helps to like give you this reminder that like we're all coming to the world with our own lens and biases and capacities and being mindful of that when we engage in anything in whatever it is, and it helps us have more compassion and relate in a better way. But I think that's so cool that there is something called, what is it called again?
Yeah. Coda.
Coda. Is it like a free thing in every city? That is amazing.
Yeah, it's free. And if you look up Coda, like Coda meetings or something online, I think I forget what the website actually is, but if you just look up Coda, CODA meetings, the website will come up and there's virtual meetings, which is what I do now. I used to go in person because this was like before the pandemic that I started doing it. But, and I don't have to go all the time, but like when I first started dating my now boyfriend, all of this stuff started coming up. I'm like, I haven't been in a good relationship in so long. This
Yeah.
relationship's amazing, but I have to relearn like how do I relate to him in a way that's not putting my stuff on him or just like trusting myself a bit more even. There's so many different nuances for it. So I went to some meetings when I first started dating this person. So I was like, I really want to be healthy and I want it
Yeah.
for me.
Yep. And when he doesn't text back, like sitting with it,
Yeah.
reminding myself I didn't do anything. Yeah. Okay. So I actually have so much I want to get into about your work, but I have one last question on this, if
Sure.
that's okay, because I know I could talk to you all day. But on the pattern thing, aside, in addition, or it sounds like, are there any other sort of like patterns or inherited beliefs that you feel like were part of your self reclamation of your truth and your sovereignty?
That's a good question. Yeah. One that I'm working on right now, which I feel like wild, like it's wild for me to say out loud, but one that I'm working on still right now. And I didn't know that I had this belief, but I really have a belief that nobody wants to hear what I have to say.
Oh my God. I
Which
go through that too.
which is so like wild to me. I'm just like, you literally love to talk and you
Yeah.
cannot. I'm like, how could you
And
have
the
this
evidence
belief?
shows you otherwise.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's just, I'm really working on it somatically right now because I think it's just deep in my system somewhere. And I went to a retreat that I wrote about and did a video about and stuff in my Substack. But I went to a retreat in April and it was such an incredible experience. And it just showed me like the gap, I guess, between
Mm.
who I'm being so far and who I'm being now, which is the most authentic that I know how to be versus like this actually full version of myself.
Oh,
And I was like, man, how come there's still such a gap? Like I feel like I'm
right.
doing everything I can, but I think this belief has a lot to do with it. And it's like a lot of the things that I went through growing up. It just felt, and then with the neediness and all of that, like on top of it, like from not understanding relationships for a really long time, I think that just exacerbated it.
Yeah.
I don't have people in my life who make me, some family members can be a little challenging, but in my day to day life, people that I choose to spend time with and that choose to spend time with me, I don't have people in my life that make me feel that way at all.
Yeah.
Actually, quite the opposite.
Yeah.
So it's like that reprogramming is still underway.
Thank you for that vulnerable share because I feel like so many people can relate. I know I can. Thank you. So I want to talk about ChronyCon. So am I saying it right?
Oh, it's like chronicon, like
Oh,
chronic.
ChronyCon. Oh my God. I pronounce everything wrong so far with you. Oh my
It's
God.
okay.
Anyway, so ChronyCon. That actually makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
So let's go back to like your seed for creating it and like what that looked like, what it is, all of the magic that you create with it.
Oh yeah, sure. It's funny enough, it's really shifting right now. So
Oh,
I'm in like such a transitional place with it, but where it started, and I'm so proud of it, but where it started was really after doing my show and I was on QVC and I was like doing all this stuff in the wellness beauty sort of space. And I loved doing it, but I felt like there was something deeper that I was supposed to share, especially after everything I'd been through. It was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be selling eye cream after all of this on television. I was like, I love eye cream, but I don't think that's my calling. So I went through this process of trying to figure out like what is it? What am I supposed to share? I'm in a very similar process for the next evolution now.
oh my God, same.
But
What the heck?
yeah, I think it's that time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
At the time, it was like 2017, after I had gone through this whole thing with codependency,
Mm.
I really came into my own. 2018, I started to plant the seeds. I was trying to figure out what it is that I really want to talk to people about. And I played this game with myself, which I totally recommend people do if they feel up for it. But I had done all these different things and I had never been a chronic illness advocate. That's something that is pretty new, actually. Even when I started Chronicon, it was not something people did that I knew.
Yeah, I agree.
It was pre-pandemic, so I knew about like immune compromised people, whereas I've been immune compromised for 20 years. So I'm like, I've known about this. But anyway, so I started playing a game with myself where every time I'd go somewhere, I'd introduce myself as like a different thing.
That's so cool.
It was really helpful, actually. And it was all true. It wasn't like I
Yeah.
lied. It was just like to one person, I was a talk show host. To another person, I was a content creator. To another person, I was a chronic illness advocate. And
Cool.
I just tried this for a while and I found when I would share anything about chronic illness, something would really happen in the conversation. There was a different energy. People would be like, oh my God, I have a chronic illness. Or, oh my God, my mom has MS. Or my friend has lupus. Or it was just like a different kind of connection that I had
Hmm.
never experienced in my career before. So, anyway, I'm telling you the long story, but
Love it.
basically,
I got time.
all of that was happening. And then I was still exploring, still exploring. And then I went to something called CurvyCon, which was,
Oh, I've heard of that.
yeah, it's no longer around, but it was great. All these like beautiful curvy people were just there. And like my friend was modeling at it. So she had asked me to come with her. I was like, sure, why not? And there were all of these like booths, brands and stuff
Yeah.
at the event. And I was walking around looking at everyone, and I met my first chronic illness fan there that day. This woman came up to me and she's, I have a skin disease. I've been following you forever.
Stop.
Yeah, and no one had ever done it before. So I was like, what? It was like this wild kind of thing. And I was walking around Chronic CurvyCon and I was like, what if I had this as a 10-year-old, like growing up, or 20-year-old?
Oh,
And it was literally like booths of people being like, come here with your flaky skin. Like, we've got you. Like, we've got the perfect red lip to bring out the redness in your skin or whatever. Just like making kind of light of it in my mind. And just, oh my God, that would be so cool if we had
yes.
could see the whole thing.
Yes.
And oh my God, I get chills every time I talk about it.
Mm.
And I was walking around thinking about this, and then I was like, well, what would it be called? Like, nobody, like, I was trying to make it fit in like the wellness world, but I was like, no. And then I thought of the name Chronicon, and I had this like full body, like, oh my God.
Fuck yes.
Like, also, like, I was scared because I was like,
Oh, now I have to do
so
this.
much bigger than me. I was like, I've never experienced that in my life. I was like, this is so big. There's hundreds of 30, like, there's hundreds of millions of people that have a chronic illness. How am I going to be like, I am creating the thing for you? That's just felt crazy at the
Mm.
time. So, yeah, so I went through that whole process. And then as soon as I started telling people about it, which I did very slowly because I was scared. Told like one person for the first 6 months because I was
Mm.
so afraid. I just it really took off. I got a lot of
Ah,
momentum. People were like, oh my God, this is so huge. This is amazing. This is it. I had a company want to buy us before we even launched. Like,
shut up.
it was crazy. It was amazing. But what I will say
Mm.
is that I have really evolved
Yes.
since then. That was in 2019 that I launched it. And the woman that I was in 2019 was a woman that liberation for me was just saying that I had a chronic illness. That was very new.
Mm.
Nobody that I knew was
Mhm.
doing it. So it was a big deal for me to say, I'm going to be the one who's going to say this out loud. And I'm going to
Yes.
invite you to say it out loud too, if that's something that you're dealing with. So to me, that was the biggest deal. I was like done, like just doing that and bringing
Yep.
us all together, celebrating all this stuff. But that's not enough for me anymore.
Yeah.
With all the stuff that I've shared with you today and just all the change that's happened in my life and feeling okay, I'm in remission from myasthenia, and I feel healthier than I've ever felt in my whole life, and I know that'll just continue. And I don't want to be arrogant to say that I'm never going to have a health challenge ever again in my life, but I feel like there's a before and after of just like my life experience.
Totally.
I don't actually know exactly what this next version is meant to be. I'm still figuring it out. But there's a sense of liberation that looks a bit different than liberation that I thought it was. And I think personally,
Mm.
there's something brewing around like the lack we feel in one area of our life and how it bleeds into so many areas. And I'm actually working on a grant proposal right now around like financial literacy for folks who are living with chronic conditions, because it's just, I think there's a really big connection between the two, between like financial
Absolutely.
abundance and physical abundance and relationships. It's like this whole grid, right?
Yes.
I don't really know what the words are in terms of, oh, this is the thing. Do you know what I mean?
I totally, yeah.
But I see all the pieces. Yeah.
I love it. It's so funny because yesterday, this friend that I went out with, I was saying something similar in the fact that, in the sense that I'm like in a little bit of a pivot. And what I said to her, what I've been like saying in my voice notes and since last night, which it feels relevant, is that I feel like, I don't know if you feel this, but back in the day, I used to put so much pressure on myself to be like, what is it? And why don't you know? And I've really been in this like space of this like deeply honoring the organic path of it and being in trust. And I think so much of it has had to do with, and like almost like a seeding of it, because I think that, and the other piece of it too is like, I used to in the past need to ask so many people or find a coach, and this time it's more, no, I need to get quieter, more reflection. It needs time. It needs to drop in. I'm doing the things, following the breadcrumbs. And I feel as though, I don't know, it just felt relevant because I feel that same way of there's something happening, not knowing what it is, being at peace with that. that like messy middle, because I feel like it's when you rush it or pull the trigger or try to get an answer and you just go forge a new path. And then you're like, but this is it actually, I, so I don't know. I just love that you're just, it's like I can sense the trust in you're just like, I don't know the name, but I feel a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And like
Yeah.
you probably know a lot more even in your being. There's probably so much more in your journals. But it's true. It's like a birthing and it takes time for all of the pieces to come together. So I love that. And I can't wait to see what you birth from this like space, because it's just so funny how on the one side of your mouth, so to speak, you were like, I don't know, like I'm in this, whatever. And then you're like, I'm writing a grant because da, da, da. Okay, girl.
I'm also working on a book proposal, which I'm really excited about. I've never thought I was going to ever write a book, partly because of all the school stuff. And I was like, there's no way I could ever write a book. But I'm committed to it now and I'm excited about it. So I am working on those big projects. But yeah, and sometimes I trust, and I have to be honest, sometimes I do not feel, I'm like, I'm just not trusting today. This is bullshit. Like, where the hell is the answer? I don't understand. I'm an Aries. So, like, I want everything yesterday.
Get shit done. Yeah.
I'm just like, why isn't it here yet? And so I have to do a lot of practices. Okay, I'm going to get on the treadmill. I'm going to go do something. I'm going to talk to a friend. I'm going to journal. I'm going to pull a card. I'm going to, whatever it might be. Deep down know that the trust is there.
Of course.
And I deeply know like I'm on a path and all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm also human.
Exactly. And it also feels at times like it's so much longer than it is. Like I feel, you know what I mean? It's like probably been a few months, but like really you're like, it's been years, but no, it's like not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true.
Oh my God. I would love for you to share. First of all, I'm just going to say, you guys have to listen to her. Read. Can't even speak.
You can watch, read, and listen, depending on the post that you choose. So you weren't wrong.
Of Nitika's Substack, The Truth Talk.
Actually.
So God,
It's okay. It's okay. You haven't said to say it
yet. Nitika.
Yeah,
you guys, I'm so ashamed of myself. I'm just having a little human moment. Okay.
Oh my God, just edit it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nitika's Substack, where you can watch, listen, and read, where she vulnerably shares all the things, like she was saying, all about like wellness and her navigating her own journey. And I feel like it's a place that I feel like every single time it drops in my inbox or I see it on Substack, I just cannot wait to read. And I feel like there's so much noise out there. So to say that, I feel like is speaks volumes of your work. But is there anything else you'd like to share about what you're doing, how people can find you, work with you, or anything else that you have that you want to share? And if not, that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. The Substack I'm pouring a lot of energy into that. So thank you for sharing about that. I have been loving that so much. And I don't have a huge private coaching practice, but I do have a small practice that I do just for a few one-on-one clients. So I have something called the Life Mastery Incubator. Work with people one-on-one and in a container for 3 months and really in their pocket so that they can feel really held in whatever it is that they want to master in their life. All these things that we've talked about, how to really transform something in their life, not just have a like minimal change.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that. I feel like it would be such a dream to work with you. Your energy is so like magical. Like you have such a vibrant spirit, and it's clear that you've done so much work and you're so pleasant to be around. Thank you so much for your time, for your heart, for your vulnerability. Yes. Thank you. All right, friends, what'd you think? I really hope you enjoyed listening and got value from this episode of Your Well Life. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so we can spread the word to more mamas who can benefit from this content. It's truly my deepest mission to help as many mamas out there feel empowered, aligned, and in flow in their bodies and lives through this podcast. And even just sharing with one friend who you think can benefit helps. Want more from me? Well, then don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you can get notified each time a new episode drops. Oh, and make sure to get on my newsletter list where I send out weekly emails to support, nourish, and inspire you. And follow me on Instagram, where I'm the most active and share behind the scenes of my day-to-day life and insights I have along the way. I'm at Misha Vayner. I'm truly so grateful that you chose to spend your time with me and really hope to have you join along next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.